don't actually use the feed chatter. Some people are very good at it. I'm not good. It's not something I've ever worried about learning, because I think the cluck can be used in more situations. When ducks are using the feed chatter, they should be frantically diving and feeding and making lots of ripples and all this sort of stuff. In the situation where you're normally decoying, and a lot of it's later in the day when the ducks aren't feeding, the cluck I find is a more all-round call. You can use it in from big water situations to river situations to a loafing pond situation.
Yeah, it's an interesting point that I can't blow a feed chatter to save myself, but people, I think because it can be difficult to blow, get hung up on being able to blow it, and therefore then try and focus on that too much, and they don't focus on the greeting or hail calls or other calls that are much more important. So that's an interesting point.
Yeah. Yeah, I know some people, lots of hunters are very good at the feed chatter. Personally, I'm not, but it hasn't seemed to have affected my hunting too much.
No. Okay, so we're making that general ducky noise with a tick-tick sort of, or whatever. Again, some people cack or tick or whatever works for you, just a short, choppy little note.
Yep.
And that's the sort of sound you'll hear if you go to the local domain or whatever and watch some ducks swimming around, just quietly interacting, isn't it?
Yep, that's dead right.
Right, so we've got our greeting or hail call, or come on over call, whatever you want to call it. What other calls would they need?
Once I get the ducks working, I shorten my calls right off, or try to. It's really hard. When you're excited and there's ducks circling, you think more is better, and quite often it's the exact opposite. You want to keep your... I'd like to keep a lot of my calls down to 3 or 4 bars, but in the excitement of the moment, I end up doing 4 or 5 bars. If they're coming towards me and they're looking like they're going to present a shot, sometimes you don't have to call at all. You're better off not doing anything. If you think they might go past you or might not come in, and you want to close them in from a long 50-yard shot, they're starting to set up and you want to bring them right into a good 25, 30-yard shot, I would give them, some people call it a hen on the water, a welcome, a greeting call. Call it what you want. It's a short, happy call.
Laid back duck.
I'll try and do that for us.
Okay.
Simple, 3 bar. I'd normally do 3 or 4. Simple as that, and that could be the difference between a duck landing outside the decoys or coming right into the decoys.
Yeah.
And I use that call a lot.
Excellent. And again, that's just the same word you use to make a duck type sound.
Yep, whatever it is for you. For me, it's a whir. For some people, it's a whit, hoot. Once again, just whatever. Practice will tell you what that will be. We've got our ducks that are gone past us and carried on. We think they're going to keep going, so it's time to get on them and do a... People call it a comeback call. I just think it's a pleading call. I actually do a slower call. It sounds like a plead, and I'll try and do that for you as well. Once again, it's only 4 or 5 bars long, and you should get a response from that.
By a response, a call response, or watch the ducks change their flight?
Ducks should start coming back around for the circle, coming back around. And as soon as they turn, as soon as they show signs, I keep calling, but pick the tempo a bit. Still a 4 to 5 bar note. And that should complete their turn and keep them coming towards you. And that's when you go back to our welcome call. Simple. 3 or 4 bars. Try to not go over 5, even though I make the mistake myself and overdo the calling. It's human nature, and to more is better when that's not what we're after.
Right, well that's been good, Paul. So do you think we can give a summary for people of those calls you've just covered, just briefly?
Yeah, well, if you put it into a hunting situation, Zane, we've got a flight of ducks, whether it's a pair or a mob in the distance, so most people with a call in the blind are going to make a little bit of noise to get their attention. So we're going to do our come on over, loud hail, call it what you like. Right, they've showed a bit of interest and have turned towards us, so we might just tone it down a bit, just maybe a couple of calls to keep them heading our way. right, they're within 100 metres now, coming towards us, looking pretty good. So we're going to do what we talked about before, the greeting call, just a short greeting call. 3 or 4 bars. Right, they're not going to come in this time. They're looking good, but they're still too high. They're going to circle overhead, so we want to keep the noise to a minimum. So we're no more hails until they get past us. We're just going to do a few background noises, feed chatters, clucks. For me, it's a cluck. Just ticking in that call. They've gone past. They might be carrying on, so we've got to give them a pleading comeback call. They've turned, looking good, so we need to, once again, an excited call. Looking good again, coming in, just not much calling required, looks like we're going to get a shot. So just to turn them from that 50-yard bird into a right over the decoy, in your face shot, I'll just give them a last welcome call, hen on the water, whatever you want to call it. Done 2 then, see? And we hopefully then get a shot.
We've been hunting this morning with Paul Stenning on the Arete River in Southland. We've had a pretty successful morning given the conditions, not great duck conditions. Paul, what do you think we can tell guys about hunting on the river here this morning?
Well, Zane, I think it's a prime example of how we can bag a few ducks without having a really good spot where there's lots of ducks living. Basically this morning, if we weren't here, there'd be no other ducks here.
Yeah.
It's not a place that ducks were living or were going to, but it's a place we had access to, an area that we could put some decoys out in a visible spot, and there was a good chance we're going to see a few ducks flying around. And this morning we've seen a few. We didn't see a lot of ducks.
No.
But the ones we've seen, we managed to get a few opportunities, and we got, what did we get this morning? 4 opportunities to shoot ducks.
Yep.
And for during the season, I think that's if you can get out and get 4 opportunities in the morning and shoot yourself even a couple of ducks or half a dozen ducks, you can give the dog a bit of work, and you've had a great morning.
Yeah, yeah. So the ducks we're targeting here, do you think they're coming off farmers' paddocks, going somewhere to rest up for the day, or coming here to feed, or what do you think they're doing?
Yeah, it's still pretty early in the season here, so I'd say the ducks, there's probably a lot of people still feeding their ducks on ponds and that, so there'll be a lot of ducks moving out from safe areas to feed at night on ponds, plus there's a fair bit of moon at the moment as well, so there'll be quite a bit of activity at night. These ducks will be just trading back from their feeding from all various scenarios. Some big rain too, that could be surface water paddocks.
Yeah.
The farmers that are break feeding, those breaks are getting quite muddy at the moment, so ducks will be on those. Yeah. There's plenty of scenarios of what the ducks could have been doing, but we're trying to target them on their way back to their safe places they're living on during the day.
Sure. You mentioned the moon. The moon has a fairly big influence on waterfowl generally that a lot of hunters don't appreciate. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, well, if there's a full moon or even from a half moon on, the ducks will be a lot more active at night. Instead of flying out early afternoon, or sorry, late afternoon and early evening and feeding, getting to their feeding spots early, they can go out later, which limits your opportunities for hunting in the evening. The ducks will fly out later, and they'll move around quite a bit at night, go to a lot of different spots, and generally a lot harder to hunt in the evening. But in the morning, they're still coming back. They can probably travel further afield, so there's some good opportunities still to be head hunting.
Yeah. We probably won't talk a lot about evening hunting on this video, mainly because it's very hard to film, because the ducks, as you know, tend to arrive fairly late with low light conditions. So when you're trying to hunt ducks in the evening with reasonably large bright moon conditions, you have to pick a pretty scruffy day.
Yeah, really you want the sort of weather that's going to move ducks early, especially if you had a dry spell. Or a few frosts or something, the first chance the ducks get for a good rainy night, and food becomes more available on the wet paddocks. Sure. And when the rivers come up and the creeks fill up, there's a lot of food available, so they'll be keen to make the most of those opportunities.
Yeah. Now, people will notice what